tabled on 4th June 2025, pursuant to Article 221 of the Constitution, as read with Section 39 of the Public Finance Act, as read with the Standing Order 239 of the Standing Order. Madam Speaker, the committee's motion seeks the parliamentary approval for the issuance of over 2.5 trillion from the consolidated fund intended to finance the operations, development programs, and statutory obligations of the national government for the fiscal year ending 2025, fiscal year ending 30th June 2026. Madam Speaker, the budget estimate coming at a time when there has been a lot of debate on resource allocation, Madam Speaker, and it's critical that I mention this. And Madam Speaker, allow me to thank the chair of the committee, the Honorable Samuel Atande, for steering. And Madam Speaker, there's a lot of consultation. Madam Speaker, I want your protection. There seems to be a lot of consultation here by my colleagues from the lake.
Honorable members led by Peter Kaluma and Jared Okello.
I'm sure
Could you break up the Kamkunji kindly.
You expect the excitement, because I'm sure they're excited with the services of the broad-based government. Madam Speaker, you can see these days, the people who troop State House, the people who get a lot of development pronouncement, and you can see the excitement on the face of my good friend, the Honorable Kaluma. And I was just saying, and I want the chairman of this committee to hear this. This committee, for the first time in the history of the Republic of Kenya, the Budget and Appropriation Committee has been chaired by a person from the lake, who is a product of the broad-based government. Madam Speaker, that gave us an opportunity. The lake plus Northern Kenya has been the region that has been neglected over the years, and you understand the history. Pursuant to one document called Sessional Paper number 10 of 1965. And being a member of the committee, every session I attempted to remind the chair that please, out of this opportunity, Northern Kenya and the Lake region must get a share of the national cake. And Madam Speaker, I want to confirm that out of the deliberations, this budget will be different from the other budgets, and clear provisions on water, on infrastructure, on health has been made for those regions, Madam Speaker. And I want to thank, because sometimes we say cowardice or respect or civility is not a sign of cowardice. What the committee has done, Madam Speaker, is to look at the whole budget-making framework and allow and craft it in a way that will give every region an opportunity to get a piece of the national cake, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, therefore, 2025-2026 budget is crafted within a framework of fiscal consolidation intended to strike a delicate balance between stimulating the economic growth and curbing the rise in public debt. Madam Speaker, the report also seeks to enhance domestic resource mobilization, streamline expenditures, and adopt prudent borrowing strategies. It also underscores the government commitment to reducing fiscal deficit and safeguarding the long-term debt sustainability. Madam Speaker, therefore, this proposal is anchored on transformative pillars. You have seen provisions for agriculture, food security, the micro, small and medium enterprises, affordable housing, universal health care, and digital superhighway and creative economy. Madam Speaker, these are things that were lacking. And therefore, this approval process is the cornerstone for our democratic governance, ensuring transparency, accountability, and citizens' trust in the public finance management. Madam Speaker, through the legislative scrutiny, and this is what we have done as a committee, Parliament plays a pivotal role in ensuring that funds are directed towards priority needs, Madam Speaker. And this is why, for some of us who come from a region that has been historically marginalized, when we see allocations for particular sections, Madam Speaker, and allow me to dwell on this road. Allow me to dwell on this road. The road from Isiolo, Modogash has a World Bank funding. The road from Modogash to Samatar, Madam Speaker, was an annuity program which has been gladly sorted out by the government. From Samatar to Wajir did not have funding, and there was an anticipation that the Arab Development Fund will do something. But right now, under this budget, there's clear budgetary provision for the tarmacking of that particular section, Madam Speaker. And I want to say kudos for the head of the Ministry of Roads and Transport, Mr. Chirchir, and the committee for that particular clear provision, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, equally, there's a particular area that has been missing, and we'll be pushing the Ministry of Energy, Mr. Speaker, and I'll be asking the Budget Committee led by the Honorable Atande to make a clear, outright determination that Northern Kenya must be connected to the national grid. Madam Speaker, Northern Kenya comprises of 70% of the landmass of the Republic of Kenya, and yet the national grid ends in Garissa. Madam Speaker, it's a high time, but because there will be no time when there will be enough resources, I'll be asking the chair, through the subsequent budgetary allocations, to make that clear determination, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, equally, there is one area, the equalization fund. I know you're a seasoned lawyer. The equalization fund, as intended, is not being applied. Madam Speaker, I want to request the leadership of BBG, the leadership of the Northern Frontier counties, the leadership of the counties that ought to benefit from this, to urgently come together and resolve some of the legislative challenges so that we get proper avenue, proper mechanism in utilizing this fund. As it is right now, the time is coming to an end, and yet there's nothing to account for on how the funds were collected, how the funds were utilized, and, Madam Speaker, very soon, the Kenyan public will ask us whether the provision of this article has enabled us to catch up with other Kenyans whom we have called the halves over the years. Madam Speaker, the other bit is Vision 2030. Vision 2030 was a roadmap to take this country to another level. Madam Speaker, unfortunately, that is not being followed. Can we come back to Vision 2030 so that that clear roadmap is also applied? Madam Speaker, the other bit is the issue of examination fees. We say education is an equalizer. There's a lot of propaganda outside there that the government has removed examination fees. That propaganda is not true. Examination, because we say education is everything. There is clear budgetary provision for examination fees, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the other bit is also the issue of health, the USC staff at the counties. That issue has also been resolved, and I'm sure very soon the county government leadership will have an opportunity to confirm those career medical officers, Madam Speaker, who have been employed at mega allowances, Madam Speaker, to get an opportunity to serve their respective counties. Madam Speaker, the other bit is this. Allow me to say this, because the whole thing rolls around politics. Once there is predictability, peace, tranquility, Madam Speaker, and civility in our politics, then there's an opportunity for the economy to grow. There's an opportunity for foreign direct investors to come. And therefore, I want to urge those who are still out of the broad-based government to use this early opportunity to see sense and join the President and the Honorable Raila Odinga in uniting Kenya, because that is what will take us to the next level, because we do not have any other country. Madam Speaker, once again, allow me to thank the Chair and the entire members for the time they have devoted to this, and I hope and pray that the members will get an opportunity to interrogate the report and make their valued input. I support, Madam Speaker.
Honorable members, allow me to recognize the presence of the following schools in the House. Seated in the Speaker's gallery is Kariobangi North Secondary School from Embakasi North Constituency, Nairobi County, and Kiriti Girls Secondary School from Maithioya Constituency, Murang'a County. And seated in the public gallery is my very own from Uasin Gishu County, Chepkurmum Junior School from Ainapkoi constituency, Uasin Gishu County. I can tell you that's next to my home. And also Nginda Mixed Secondary School from Maragua constituency in Murang'a County. And I will now ask Honorable Kaluma, as you make your presentations, please welcome the schools And don't forget that there's a school from Uasin Gishu County right from my home, near my homestead. Thank you. And let them know I taught you.
I thank you, Honorable Speaker, and my teacher of law at the University of Nairobi. Speaker, if it were not for you, in the manner you intervened in my life and the lives of very many others, and in the same manner the teachers who have accompanied our students here are intervening in their lives, Madam Speaker, some of us would not be here. I particularly, I would not be here. I therefore, yes, Madam Speaker, Honorable Kainan, I thought you should know, but you taught me public international law. I ate a lot of your knowledge on matters family law, children, the law relating to children, civil procedure and practice, which enables me to stand on that foundation of being able to address our courts, even as I serve in this assembly. And for that, Honorable Speaker, I'm eternally grateful. Allow me, therefore, to welcome all visiting students and schools, accompanied, of course, by their teachers, to the National Assembly, the Parliament, and House of Representation of the people of Kenya. Honorable Speaker, this could be a very big journey to them. For people like us, we first entered into this chamber, including where you are today, just when you were elected. And so this is an opportunity for you to be inspired, go out there and fight so hard, not just to reach the level where our speakers reached, but far, far beyond, to be leaders of our country, carrying forth the national values we have in our constitutions in the future. Feel welcome, and may you carry forth to be the people you are being processed to be, and to be the people to whom we can hand over a stable Kenya as we look into the future. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Yeah, also, Honorable, I think, Honorable Kaluma, it's good for the students to know what we are doing today, the budget making process, briefly.
Yes.
So I'll give you an extra 5 minutes.
Yes, thank you, Honorable Speaker. The Parliament of Kenya has two houses, the National Assembly, where you are, and the Senate. The roles of the National Assembly are representation, legislation, and of course oversight. But there is a role that is additionally given to this House of Parliament, which relates to budget and appropriations. We appropriate monies in terms of division of revenue. We share the monies between the levels of government. The portion that goes to the counties, we then send it to the Senate to share among counties. But we remain with a portion for the national government to be shared out among the various ministries, various departments, various sectors of government, including those that go to the education sector and those other sectors which are within the national government functions. So today we are in the budget making process. In terms of representation, Honorable Speaker, let me mention to them that this is a very tedious process. We are talking about the money is going to the various agencies, but we will later be looking at how those monies are raised. And that is where we'll be talking about, the finance bills, one of which you remember was torpedoed last year. Honorable Speaker, let me, in ending, inform our visiting schools and students that when you look at the face of the National Assembly and when you look at the face of the Senate, you will notice some distinctive difference. On the face of the Senate, at the door, you'll see the flags of the various counties, because the Senate represents counties as entities. On the face of the National Assembly, you'll see sculptures of human beings to signify that when we are seated here, we are sitting on behalf of the people of Kenya who have elected us here to be here to represent them, exercising their sovereign will. And those features will always be there. Be laws we are dealing with. And so the National Assembly, Honorable Speaker, has 350 members, including the Speaker. 350 members. It is bigger than most of the secondary schools we have in the country. The Senate, of course, has 68 members, including their Speaker. But the roles of the National Assembly are specifically delineated or set out under Article 95 of the Constitution. The role specified to the House of Parliament called the Senate, if you have time to look at them, are in Article 96 of the Constitution. They deal with laws concerning counties, and they participate in those law-making functions but we share in the sense that the National Assembly ultimately enacts all laws. I think only to add, Honorable Speaker,
so
that...
you can complete and go now to the budget deliberations?
Yes, I've done the budget preparations, Honorable Speaker, and I think they now understand it. I've emphasized that we are at the second reading where we are dealing with issues like how the estimates are going to the various ministries, various sectors of the economy to support the public services the government is to give. And then, of course, we are doing this in a very constrained environment. Honorable Speaker, I thank you very much, and I wish the students sitting in the Speaker's gallery and in the public gallery a good tour, academic tour within the House of Parliament. I thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I wanted to contribute. Yes. I thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I have looked at the reports presented to this House by the Budget and Appropriations Committee. And Honorable Speaker, let me start by thanking the new chairperson of the Budget and Appropriations Committee, the Honorable Samuel Atandi, for the good work they have done this time around. Let me thank him with his membership for the good work we have done with the budget going by the report. And then there are two, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, number one is that the budget estimates for this year have restored the power and authority of the departmental committees in their participation in the budget-making process. All chairs and most of the chairs of the various departmental committees have spoken here. And they have confirmed that unlike before, the recommendations which come from the departmental committees, which are in charge of the various ministries, various departments, various sectors of government, have been carried on forth. This is unique, Honorable Speaker. Because in the past, we were complaining that the departmental committees assist the Budget and Appropriations Committee in this process, but whatever they recommend, in some cases, were not being carried forth. And I want to commend the committee chaired by my brother, Samuel Atandi, for that good work. Number two, Honorable Speaker, there have been complaints that the budget estimates and the allocation and appropriation of the national resources have not been equal, have not been fair, have not been just to all regions of the country, to all peoples of the country, to all sectors of our governance. Honorable Speaker, let me say today that I was very glad, Honorable Atandi, when I saw a road specifically mentioning Mandera County. So pleasant. We've been budgeting year in, year out. You hear some parts of the country don't still have an inch of a road. When I saw Mandera, I saw a road going to Wajir. I see roads going to Garissa. I see roads going to Tana, including that school the Cabinet Secretary in charge of National Treasury was talking about. A school where our children, the children of this nation since independence, have been faced with the tragedy of having to cross the river to go to school. And you know, River Tana is infested with crocodiles. When I see a proposal in the budget estimates, Honorable Speaker, saying that we must build a bridge to enable those students build their futures through education, Honorable Speaker, without having to risk their lives in those infested waters of Tana River, the waters infested by crocodile, I say we are beginning to think about, this country. Honorable Speaker, I therefore want to thank the broad-based government. Honorable Speaker, for how long are we speaking?
It's 10 minutes.
No, but Honorable Speaker, the other part I was given a chance to welcome the students. I've just started contributing to the budget.
Okay, you have an additional 2 minutes, but continue.
Yeah, I thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, we therefore take very many things for granted. But this thing would have not been possible without the broad-based government. A government seeking equity, a government seeking inclusivity, a government seeking the integration of all Kenyans in their governance unlike before. I want to thank President Ruto. I want to thank... Even the 2 minutes have ended.
No, it's okay. No, continue.
I want to thank my party leader, the man who mentored me, the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, for bringing the country together. Because with this togetherness, objectively, we can look now at the entire country as belonging to all of us and look at how we provide for them. Because, Honorable Speaker, we may say there are areas which we should budget for. The high production areas which were categorized in those years. But the fact of the matter is that each county, each region, each section of our population have something to contribute to the national table and all pay taxes. We want a country that moves in unison, in development, in togetherness. But Honorable Speaker, let me emphasize one thing only. I'm very happy that as much as we have this budget, we have funded the judiciary well. We have funded institutions which fight corruption well. Because if we can be losing sometimes up to $1 trillion through corruption, then we need to empower these agencies so that they can fight corruption and so that we can, control pilferages. So money is to EACC, money is to the Office of the Auditor General, money is to the Commission on Revenue Allocation. Honorable Speaker, I would request the members to approve them. Lastly, Honorable Speaker, I want to, support the committee for proposing an increment to the money is going to Kenya Revenue Authority. Honorable Speaker, we may have whatever budget we have, but if we do not capacitate the agency which is in charge of revenue-raising measures, the Kenya Revenue Authority, we will not be doing much. So I wanted to request the Budget and Appropriations Committee that I know you have increased the money, but we want a situation where the money going to Kenya Revenue Authority is between 1.5 to 2% of the collection so that they can build their capacities, they can integrate technology in revenue-raising measures, and we can collect more, and so that the whole country can in equity be developed. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Millie Odhiambo, did you want to pronounce yourself on this? Or you're doing something else?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, let me take this opportunity to thank Honorable Atandi on his maiden presentation of the budget as the chair of the Budget Committee. Until recently, I was a member of the Budget Committee, where we've worked very closely.
Just one moment. You'll take up your chair again. Just a moment. Honorable members, I want to welcome Tangulbei High School from Tiati Baringo, who are in the speakers gallery, and also Lily Academy from Ruiru, Kiambu. Is the Honorable Kamket? Yes. Where is, before we go to Kiambu, where is Kamket? Mheshimiwa, you can appreciate and encourage the young learners from Tiati on behalf of Kamket. I'm talking to you, lady. Yeah, proceed. Give her the mic, please.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for this opportunity. I want to welcome the students from Tiati constituency in Baringo County, and I come from Elgeyo Marakwet County. They are our neighbors, and you can hardly tell who comes from Elgeyo Marakwet and Tiati. My students, I want to encourage you that it doesn't matter where you come from, it might be miles away, but with education, you can be a member of parliament one day in this house. You can even be the President of the Republic of Kenya. Feel at home, and you're welcome to Parliament once again. Thank you.
The Honorable Kingara, to welcome the students from Ruiru in Kiambu. Can you give the mic to Honorable Kingara, please? Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, for giving me this opportunity to welcome students from Ruiru, especially the Raja Kiambu. And I'm grateful that they have found it worth to come and see what we are doing here. My word is this, just be very consistent on whatever you are doing. Be humble so that you are accommodated by this world. It is out of discipline, humbleness that you'll be able to come to this house, make law, improve laws, and grow the country as you wish. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Millie Odhiambo, you have your 10 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let me also take this opportunity to welcome the students. And Mr. Speaker, to just indicate that one of the teachers who has come with the students from Tiati is from Rangwe constituency in Homa Bay County. Mr. Speaker, it's Homa Bay County yet again. And also to just indicate that I know even though I wasn't in Ruiru, but I went to Limuru Girls, which is in Kiambu County. So there's a connection with those two schools. And just to encourage the students that when you see us here, many of us come from very far, but it's your hard work that pays. And Mr. Speaker, I just wish to, I was indicating earlier that I want to thank Honorable Atandi and my former committee, the Budget Committee, for presenting this budget. Mr. Speaker, I know people have spoken a lot to the issue of allocation of the budget and the issue of equity and fairness in the budgeting process. And Mr. Speaker, if you actually look at the Constitution and looked at the concept of equity, then even monies that may be allocated to some areas like Homa Bay County may still be low, because Homa Bay has had years of marginalization when they didn't have adequate funding. And Mr. Speaker, I would want to encourage that as going forward, I've said it before and I'm saying it yet again. Earlier on today when I was talking to some of the media people, somebody challenged me and said, is it that now we are getting some budgeting because of we are in the broad base? If we do, it's maybe coincidental, but it should really be constitutional that when you are an area that has been marginalized for years, that you should actually get better funding. Mr. Speaker, I want to just indicate that I'm very happy that the committee has actually considered the health workers that have been outside the parliament until I was actually getting very, very concerned, that they are here every day picketing, and we are the house that can give solutions. So I'm happy that there's an allocation that will deal with their issues. Mr. Speaker, in relation to education, I'm also happy that the issue of the examination fee that has drawn a lot of concern and attention has also been addressed. Mr. Speaker, I think a lot of constituencies, including mine, have had a lot of concerns in relation to energy and especially power connectivity. And we have had, a lot of us have had the issue of transformers that are not working. And Mr. Speaker, this is something that we met the Minister or the CS for Energy, and they are addressing, and with the allocation that is actually granted now, we can see areas like in my constituency that have been raising concern, Lambwe areas, Usao, Ngode areas, and other areas of a constituency, Kasgunga, now will be able, the issues should be able to be addressed. I'm very happy on the program on aquaculture business development that will touch my constituency, especially on the issue of fisheries, that will create jobs and also enhance food security. Mr. Speaker, again, one of the issues that originally was very contentious and still contentious in some corners is the issue of affordable housing. And there is an allocation, but I'm sure at some point the things would get better, because when people start paying for the housing, then the cost will go lower. But Mr. Speaker, I just want to encourage that when we go to areas like my constituency, instead of looking at the affordable housing in the same design as other areas, other than maybe the big centers like Middletown, then we should focus on areas like TTIs and KMTC. And I want to thank the ministry for already considering a TTI in Mbita constituency. Mr. Speaker, I would actually want to say that despite the very good budget, my concern is that we still have very low funding for the Ministry of Gender, and we also have very low funding in relation to children affairs. And I want to encourage Honorable Atandi and the Budget Committee that maybe you reconsider this even when we're coming up with the supplementaries, especially in the light of the cases of gender-based violence that have skyrocketed in this country. Otherwise, with Mr. Speaker, with those few remarks, I beg to support. Thank you.
The Honorable Ndindi. You want to inform who?
Yeah, thank you,
She's not on the.
Mr. Speaker.
She's not on the floor.
First, I want to take this opportunity to thank the chairman of budget and his committee. Mr. Speaker, I know this committee has spent a lot of time engaging the public openly on the budgeting, on the budget and budgeting making process. Mr. Speaker, for the first time, we have seen open discussions on how the revenue that is collected from Kenyans is being utilized. Mr. Speaker, we have seen in the past some counties or some constituencies getting more than the other counties or constituencies. Mr. Speaker, you find some votes of the national cake being given continuously to some counties and constituencies with no regard at all with the aspect of equality and even equity. This budget 2025-26 has really addressed what has been missing. That we see some counties and some constituencies growing in terms of development than others. Mr. Speaker, this budget has taken into consideration the better program of the ruling government. Mr. Speaker, it is very important to align the budget with the better program, which is the bottom-up economic transformation of this country. Mr. Speaker, there are some constituencies, particularly my constituency, where we have issues of electricity, issues of water. I have noted that we have been handed 10 million shillings, 100 million shillings for water. Nyoro County has benefited from the allocation on the budget on electricity. Mr. Speaker, the government has really tried very much to bring equity on the division on money on road infrastructure. And I want to say that for the first time, we have seen a lot of consideration of the distribution of the road network on low volume sale. Mr. Speaker, we have seen this budget bringing out transparency and utilization of money, particularly, Mr. Speaker, on the housing levy. Mr. Speaker, this budget has not interfered with that money because collected and ring-fenced purely on the housing and related development that the fund is taking care of. Mr. Speaker, what Kenyans want to see are markets, and the whole market now being constructed throughout the Republic. Mr. Speaker, this levy has been seen constructing houses. They recently launched, handed over houses in Mukuru and the other part of this nation, showing Kenyans how their money is being utilized, showing a lot of transparency and accountability. Mr. Speaker, we have seen the government committed on improving the health of this health sector of the country. Mr. Speaker, we have been having issues to do with the share. The government has come in handy. And if you look at the budget, it has really put into consideration that aspect of a Kenyan requirement. Mr. Speaker, the same case applies to the education sector, agriculture, and the other sectors. What am I saying, Mr. Speaker? I think Kenya now, there are many questions that Kenyans have been asking. Where is our money being utilized? And I believe Kenyans have no problem with paying taxes. What Kenyans have a problem is how their money is being used. I believe this committee has addressed that question because Kenyans, they want to pay tax, Kenyans are ready to pay tax, but Kenyans want to see how their money is being used. My people of the great constituency of Bori, they want to see roads being put up. They want to see water being put up. They want to see electricity. They want to see their hospitals being uplifted. They want to see ICT hubs coming up. They want to see people being employed, our youth being employed. They want to see our women being empowered. So this budget, 2025-2026, to me, is trying to bring up another dimension of how our budget needs to be and what the budget needs to cater for. Mr. Speaker, we cannot sit back and listen to people who have no clue on how the government is functioning. The people out there saying that nothing is being done. I believe through this budget 2025-2026, they will see a Kenyan government and a Kenya Kwanza government, broad-based government at work. And I can say with no contradiction, no doubt, that by the close of the year 2025-2026, we will say, yes, the money that the Kenyans are paying are being put into proper practice. Mr. Speaker, I support and I urge the members that we support this budget. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Quenya. Quenya.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to add my voice to the budget estimates. And I want on the onset to recognize the effort put by the Budget and Appropriation Committee through the leadership of the Honorable Sami Atadi and the members therein. Mr. Speaker, of course, it has been a very tedious process going through the budget cycle from the point of inception to where we are today. And Mr. Speaker, I am in a very special way supportive of this process and the estimates therein. Mr. Speaker, I've been very keen and followed through to see since when we started the budget policy statement as to the ceilings that were set. As much as I had my misgivings because of my experience in this house, whereby we pass budgets, but when it comes to implementation, we are not either able to raise revenues that are envisaged, and therefore we only have a budget, but in terms of exchequer release it, then that's where we go wrong. Because we have very ambitious figures, but in terms of absorption, it becomes very difficult because there is no revenue that is enough to meet that side of expenditure. And I'm happy, Mr. Speaker, that there seems to be a level of improvement in terms of revenue collection, and maybe going into the future, we are going to live the Kenyan dream that we've always envisaged, a situation whereby we are going to have a balanced budget to the extent that we are not going to have that column that always keeps on coming up, the deficit side that needs to be financed through debt. And Mr. Speaker, I am particularly happy with the financing of our security organs. That is the Kenya Police, KDF, and National Intelligence Service. Because from the records, or from what I see here, their ask was met and to some extent exceeded, and especially Ministry of Defense. Mr. Speaker, just to bring to the fore, at the knowledge and understanding of members, our forces that are in Somalia are no longer being supported by UNEP, United Nations. And therefore, the government of Kenya has to come in and be in support of our forces that are serving our interest in the other border of Somalia. And this budget has ably addressed that, Mr. Speaker. It is something that we should celebrate when we are able to take care of our obligations locally and internationally. Finally, Mr. Speaker, on the same, I don't know why I'm turning. I read, I thought we'd take in 10 minutes. Mr. Speaker, I wanted to mention something to do with modernization of our equipment for security forces. You realize Kenya is perpetually under threat, either from our hostile neighbors or from vigilante groups and organized crimes that are a big threat to this country. But now, without modernizing our equipment and use of technology, then we find ourselves in a state that is too dangerous for the security of Kenyans. And for any responsible country, 5 minutes.
What?
10 minutes. Mr. Speaker, as I proceed, I think there was an interruption. That was, in terms of modernization, that's where I was, Mr. Speaker. You find that criminals may be having superior technology than what our security forces have. You realize that some of the equipment that are being used by our security forces are obsolete and therefore may not match up with the emerging trends of criminal activities that are happening within and outside our borders. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, provisioning for the same to make sure that we acquire or procure the latest equipment, then that is what every responsible country should do. On the issue of agriculture, Mr. Speaker, I remember the Honorable President, His Excellency President William Ruto, stating that we must vacate from a point where we subsidize consumption to a place where we're going to subsidize production. And through the affordable fertilizer that is subsidized, we have been able to be close to food secure. And I think that's a game changer, and I'm happy that the same has been financed again in this financial year. Finally, Mr. Speaker, on the issue of electricity, many of our households are without electricity. 60 years after independence, we are still grappling with basic issues like having electricity in every home. It has been the dream of this country, the dream of every Kenyan, to have a switch where they can switch on their lights without struggle, without begging for more years ahead. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, the provisioning of 52 billion in this budget to ensure that we connect as many homes to the national grid and to make sure that that dream is brought to actualization is something that should impress every Kenyan. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, as I may not be able to go through all the content that is in this document, I wish to unequivocally support and congratulate the Honorable Chairman of Budget, who has now delivered his maiden budget statement. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Speaker, for giving me the floor to contribute to the budget estimate. Allow me from onset to thank Honorable Atandi, who has made his maiden budget since he became the chair of budget. From outlook, Mr. Speaker, the budget looks a bit healthy. However, I have some reservations considering the recurrent expenditure to development in terms of ratio. We are still far below the recommended ratio for recurrent expenditure to development, Mr. Speaker, which is supposed to be 40% recurrent, 60% development. The first world have 30% recurrent, 70% development. In our situation, Mr. Speaker, we are still grappling to attain this particular ratio, Mr. Speaker, and I think this is something we need to reconsider very seriously if we want to move Kenya to the next level in terms of development path. Mr. Speaker, when I look at the key sectors which drive the economy of any developing nation, Mr. Speaker, I'm making a reference to energy, infrastructure, and ICT, Mr. Speaker. From the look of the document that is in front of us, the total budget, or the percentage in terms of the overall budget is about 20% that has gone to energy, infrastructure, and ICT, Mr. Speaker. And I think this is still very low, while understanding that most of the areas, particularly the rural areas, have very low connectivity on electricity. I'll talk of my constituency. We are below 20% of our electricity needs when it comes to electricity. We have most of the areas not connected to electricity, Mr. Speaker. If you look at our roads, they are in a very bad state, Mr. Speaker, and that is why we say the 20% that is earmarked for energy, infrastructure, ICT, of the overall budget is quite low, and we need to review it upward to be able to meet the needs across the country, Mr. Speaker. The other key important sector is education, Mr. Speaker. I'm noticing the total percentage that has gone to education that is out of the overall budget is at 28%, Mr. Speaker. That is still low. While looking at the need when it comes to education, we are talking of exams, we are talking of higher education loans board, we are also talking of other needs when it comes to infrastructure for education. So it's important, Mr. Speaker, we'll relook into this and see if we can revise the budget or the money earmarked for education upward, Mr. Speaker. Health, Mr. Speaker, has actually gotten the lowest percentage, which is about 5% of the total budget. That's about 137 billion, Mr. Speaker. We have been noticing health professionals coming to Parliament, requiring for their pay. A lot of needs in terms of patients who are out there, who have no one to attend to them because the health practitioners are busy on the roads demanding for pay rise, etc. So it's important, Mr. Speaker, we listen to Kenyans and see if we can add some money to health sector, Mr. Speaker. Agriculture, which used to be the backbone of the Kenyan economy, Mr. Speaker, it is worrying when I notice agriculture and rural development has been given 3% of the total budget, that is amounting to about 78 billion, Mr. Speaker. That is still very low if we really think or if we really believe that agriculture still is a backbone of our economy, Mr. Speaker. So in a nutshell, Mr. Speaker, there is much for us to do as a House to be able to respond to the needs and realities of Kenyans so that we move this country to the next level when it comes to development, Mr. Speaker. When I look at areas or gray areas when it comes to funding, we have very specific areas that have been underfunded, Mr. Speaker. To make or to be specific, I'll talk about school feeding program, Mr. Speaker. The previous financial year, school feeding program got about 3 billion. By this particular budget estimate, there is nothing put under school feeding program, Mr. Speaker. If you look at my area and your area, that is your constituency and my constituency, these are ASAL areas which receive erratic rainfall, Mr. Speaker. And most of the students in those areas are able to remain in school because of school feeding program, Mr. Speaker. So if we do away with the school feeding program, what are we trying to say when it comes to retaining learners from poor families, Mr. Speaker? So it's important we reconsider this and, if possible, reinstate money for school feeding program, Mr. Speaker. Another very important element comes to higher education learning, that is HELB. Myself, I went to school through HELB, higher learning. I was able to attain my first degree through HELB loan. Mr. Speaker, I've seen a reduction of about 3 billion in HELB. That is from 37 billion to 34 billion. This particular 3 billion reduction, Mr. Speaker, has a very negative implication to learners who come from poor families. I'm talking of about 368,000 learners who will not be able to meaningfully continue with higher learning if this money is not reinstated, Mr. Speaker, because they are likely to drop out because of financial constraint, while because of the background or because of the areas where they come from, Mr. Speaker. So let's try to understand these particular issues which are pertinent to poor Kenyans and be able to reinstate them in the budget, Mr. Speaker. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, I've noted that the police medical insurance, still the money that was requested by the department, what we have earmarked or what we have budgeted in this budget is low or is quite low compared to what was requested by the police. And it's important to understand these people do very essential or instrumental role in ensuring internal security is given to Kenyans. So let's ensure that we provide the money requested for police medical insurance to be able to support our security officers and to be able to motivate them, because if we don't incentivize them, then we are likely to have policemen and women who will be demotivated to discharge their duties, Mr. Speaker. So with those few remarks, I wanted to recommend that going forward, it's important we look at the key sector that drive the economy of this country and budget well to be able to ensure that these sectors do not underperform, because they are the backbone, are the fulcrum to the progress that we want to see Kenya, and that will make Kenya a great nation, as all of us would want to cherish or see a progressive nation. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I submit.
Mtunga.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity to add my voice to the debate on the 2025-2026 budget, financial year budget. Honorable Speaker, the process of budget started way back with the budget policy statement. But notably, Honorable Speaker, there was some deviation between what we saw in the budget policy statement and what we finally arrived at the end of the day as the budget. The reason being that, the deviation in some sectors, like the sector that I represent, was negative. This has affected the budgeting and the planning of the activities in the sector. Against some of those expectations, Honorable Speaker, we have had to cost reduction in some of the activities. Honorable Speaker, the efforts in this budget progressively has shown absorption or rather provision for the bottom-up economic transformation agenda priorities. In every sector, there has been that provision. And this is something that came up with the new government. It's something that has been adopted, and it's something that is bearing fruits. And I hope it is something that the Kenyans are seeing happening. So I would like to call upon Kenyans to appreciate the efforts that are being made, especially through the budgeting process and provisioning for some of those activities. Perhaps, Speaker, we might have at some point as a country to call for harmonization of the budgeting in terms of the sectors. There are sectors that can easily move this economy to better returns, better revenue, better job creation, better, foreign exchange earning, and so on and so forth, but they are not being given due recognition. Many of the speakers have alluded to sectors like ICT, they have alluded to sectors like agriculture and rural and urban development and others. We might need a national conversation on how do we prioritize. Because, Honorable Speaker, when you look closely at what is happening in several sectors, and this is something that we need to take caution as a country, some of the things are long-term construction efforts. And those long-term construction efforts do not necessarily yield results in due time. A 5-year term government needs to yield results very fast. The current government got into office on the promise of jobs. And we can easily create jobs if we focus on some of these sectors and give them more effort. For instance, if we look at the agricultural sector and what has been happening, Honorable Speaker, the policy shift by the president to decide not to subsidize consumption, but instead subsidize production. And the fact that God has been so graceful to us and has given us rain all through, this has made the country realize food security over time. And these are some of the efforts that we need to make. For instance, we have specific targets. We have a target to improve coffee production from the current around 50,000 metric tons to 200,000 metric tons by 2027. If you have to achieve that target, we must do a lot of campaigns for new land to be opened under coffee, and also for intensification in production and productivity. That cannot be done without proper budgeting and inclusion of some of those activities, or recognition of some of those activities in the budget process. Honorable Speaker, again, in terms of harmonization, as a country, we are investing in industrial parks and aggregation centers. This is a very good initiative to have these industrial parks, because most of our farmers and most of the Kenyans are smallholder. These are the producers of the raw materials of industry. These are the producers of the little that we sell outside this country. Being producers who are small in scale, they will need to aggregate. And for us to have aggregation centers that are supportive of the economy, we must be able to organize the producers in a manner that they are able to respond to the demands of the day. And in that respect, Honorable Speaker, it calls for investment in the organization process, setting up cooperatives across the country, enabling these people to work together, harvest together, store together, sell together. Those are some of the omissions that are in this budget that need to be looked into. Honorable Speaker, the other notable omission, the other notable inclusion in this particular respect is the focus on institutional support. Most of our institutions have been supported in this budget. I have in mind our military has been very well supported. I have in mind that our police or the law enforcement agencies have been supported. The judiciary has been supported. This parliament indeed has also been supported. I would like to call upon this institution to do their work and to deliver their promises to the Kenyans. That will guarantee them further support. That will give Kenyans the due recognition of the role that they play. Honorable Speaker, the efforts towards sustaining the budget deficit, living within the means, were seen in this particular budgeting process. The idea was that the fiscal space was limited, and under limited fiscal space, we needed to operate within the confines of the fiscal space. So the budgeting has been done in a way not to open up for more demand for resources. And this is a deliberate effort by government and a deliberate effort by this House to ensure that we do not open up the lid. Honorable Speaker, it is important for us to note that as a country, there are certain projects that are very fast in impacting the livelihoods of Kenyans. And when we debate, for instance, transfer of NGCDF to the counties, Honorable Speaker, those who are in the county are our brothers and sisters. We have been to the same schools with them. We lived in the same localities. We all support devolution. But if something is working, why try to change it? The only fund in this country which has a management fee of 5%. And Honorable Speaker, I would like to explain why 5% is so significant. 5%, Honorable Speaker, if you're doing research and the data variation is not beyond 5%, you normally conclude that there is no significant difference in the responses. In that particular respect, it means, therefore, most of the money utilized under NGCDF goes to development. And that is why there is so much of impact. Honorable Speaker, we need to ask ourselves, why should somebody imagine that something that is working needs to be altered or needs to be changed? There is fear among Kenyans that this NGCDF is going to be moved. There is fear among the members